This is a presentation from the Supernaut Network.
Welcome to the Imaginarium, the show where art, technology, and creativity intersect and combine to forge a conversation that can only be found in the Imaginarium. I'm your host, Scott Colbert, and today's guest, Elliott Armstrong, stars in the movie Infliction, and has also appeared in the Lifetime original movie Love at the Christmas Table, General Hospital, and American Horror Story. So welcome to the Imaginarium, Elliott.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on, Scott.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So why don't you give the listeners just a little bit of a background on yourself so they can get to know you just a bit better?
Yeah, sure. I started pursuing acting seriously probably about a year after college. Stuck around on the East Coast and the Southeast specifically, and that's where I was eventually, introduced to Jack upon going down to North Carolina. I was rooted in Virginia, doing some local theater and acting around there and trying to do whatever shows that they had in production in my immediate area. But eventually, through my agency, got called down to audition for Infliction in North Carolina, and that's where I got involved in the film Infliction. And then shortly after that, probably about 3 or 4 months after we got done wrapping that, I made the leap out to Los Angeles, where I've been now for about going on 3 years out here pursuing acting as well. So that's where I am now.
Your agency got you in touch with Jack to do Infliction?
Yeah, that was I was just hungry to audition for anything and everything I could, and although it wasn't in my immediate area, I drove down from Norfolk, Virginia, where I wasn't born there, but I was raised there, and that's where I was living at the time. Probably like 5.5 hours down to the Charlotte area of North Carolina to audition, and then we did that all over again for callbacks and meeting the director and production and meeting the rest of the cast and things like that. So it certainly wasn't in my area, but at that point, I was just hungry to get involved with anything I could. So it ended up being a great opportunity.
No, I understand. Jason and Jack had mentioned that you and Jason actually got together a month before shooting.
Yeah, it was. We had 2 weeks of a lot of rehearsal and working the script together, and then we decided to get down there even 2 weeks prior to that. Just to kind of move in, get settled in the house. We were all living in the same house, a lot of the cast and some of the production team, and just kind of, get comfortable, being brothers and doing day-to-day activities together and just getting to know each other as our characters. And then also, individually, too. We just thought that would kind of create a stronger dynamic that would translate well in the film.
How do you prepare for a role like you have with Kenny? Because out of everybody that's in the movie, he's probably the most likable, the most relatable. But even still, he's still on this murder spree with his brother.
Yeah, I mean, well, he's you have to kind of wrap your brain around the behavior of an introvert and someone who has some serious, skeletons and things that are repressing a lot of his emotions, and that's why he's so introverted and to himself, I guess, and he doesn't really verbalize a lot of his feelings, and I mean, to his brother somewhat, but that's about it. And yeah, I guess he's the most likable, or you can have the most empathy for him or with him, because you can kind of see that he's not leading this rampage, certainly. But yeah, just to kind of get into that mindset, Jason and I both did a lot of, character research, people that might be coming from this walk of life and have these traumatic experiences in their childhood. And so, yeah, just, doing research, talking to people, and then, just making sure I spend a lot of time by myself, kind of wrapping my head around it, and making a point to be more introverted, and put up these social barriers between me and other people. That was a lot of what I did, for a month going up to the film, and even as we were shooting. I made sure, especially on the weekends when we weren't shooting, that I did have a lot of time to myself. Be Kenny, fully embrace that and the kind of behavior that he shows.
Goes a little bit against your nature, from what I understand, because you're more of an extrovert.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's definitely a challenge, but a great challenge. I mean, that's what you hope for when you get really full characters like this that you can actually bring to life and play. And so, yeah, I mean, it was, once we started talking about the character, and we had to refine him a lot, at first, Jack and I were talking about even having him more even with autistic behavior or a stutter or other social lapses that were even more crude. But we kind of brought it up to where he was in the film. And yeah, but I mean, it was great. I mean, that's what you hope for, and that's what you want when you're acting. Is you want a challenge, you want something that really takes you out of your personality. And so that was great to truly play a character where you're taking on a completely different character rather than bringing yourself to, which a lot of actors who are very successful at it, a lot of them just kind of play themselves from movie to movie because they're a likable, personable person that is magnetic on camera. But to play these strange people that are out there, that's great. I mean, that's unbelievable. So just very happy that I was able to do that, and Jack put me in the position to do that.
Yeah, it sounds like you had a lot of input into the creation of the character of Kenny.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Jack's very big on having it be a team collaboration, and so he always wants your input. And sometimes he'll say, okay, I get what you're saying, but that's not what we're gonna do, or he'll say, wow, that's cool. Let's talk about that. So it was great. Yeah, it was a great creative process where we actually got to really kind of figure this character out together. I mean, he had a lot of it, in the woodwork of what he wanted to accomplish with him, but just the minor things and really just how people would see him was kind of what we explored. You don't get that luxury on a lot of sets. That's one of the really cool things about working on Infliction, is that Jack was so open to collaboration and getting ideas from actors, and he just wants to make the best project possible. And so that was really cool that he gave us so much weight in that process, whereas other films, even other indie films, certainly studio films, you don't get that kind of luxury. But even other independent films, you're not going to see a director who really makes a point as much as Jack did to really make it your character as well.
I watched Infliction twice. The first time, after I watched it the first time, I was really just kind of numb afterwards, because it's a very intense movie. And I've said I really enjoyed it, but maybe enjoy isn't quite the right word.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite scenes is at the very end, and it's involves your character, and he's coming to the realization, and he's remembering everything that happened in their childhood, and that was a very powerful piece, and it was some fantastic acting on your part.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a great. We actually shot that. That was a home run. That was it's kind of a continuous from one angle. There was two shots, I believe, with that. The front and reverse shot, but for one of it, it was a one whole take of where the realization, and then going into dumping all these. Well, I don't want to give anything away for viewers or listeners who haven't seen it yet, but yeah, it was a great scene, and we did it pretty seamlessly that night. I think everybody was on their A game. So yeah, that went really well, and it certainly was probably the most challenging scene for me, just because I had to be in such a dark place to get that to translate right. So yeah, I did a lot of turning over that day, and leading up to that night. It was a night shoot, so we didn't get to that scene until I think 10 or 11 at night, or even later, but which was good too, because kind of that's when it would have actually happened. So I mean, everything kind of fit together really well. It made you really feel like you were there, and that certainly helped to kind of get me in that dark place that I needed to be.
It was shot continuously, so there were no scenes that were shot out of order. So that must have been a treat, being able to do it that way.
There was a little, for the most part, it was in sequence, but there was some. I think there were a couple scenes, maybe some pickup shots that we had to do that were out of order. But yeah, for the most part, if I remember correctly, for the most part, it was shot chronologically and in order, which is, yeah, that's not normally something that you run into. But I think Jack was pretty conscious about doing that. And I mean, I think when you can, it definitely helps the actor. You're trained, and you don't have to do that, certainly, and you can't be dependent on doing that for every project you do. But I think when you can, it's awesome because it just helps the actors that much more kind of feed into the story and actually be exactly where they would if they were truly if that was reality. So yeah, it was nice.
Well, and I think it really helps in the type of a movie it is with the assembled footage. Probably makes a little bit more sense to do it that way, given how it was filmed, than doing it out of sequence.
Yeah, I think it came down to, I mean, just like with anything in production, it comes down to locations, when you can have the location for this amount of time and when you can get your extras there, and there's just so many factors that go into, when you can get the shots done that you need. But I think when he was storyboarding the whole thing, he did, at least I mean, it was never, I mean, there were some things that were like slightly out of sequence, but for the most part it was I think even within that week, it wasn't something like we were shooting. Well, I guess our first shot, the actual first shot of the movie, and I remember the very first shot, the first day we did the baseball scene
Hmm.
where we were throwing the baseball at the park, and Jason John, kind of has this reveal. It just kind of, I guess, solidifies the relationship between me and him, and how he looks at me and is protective over me and things like that. But that was the very first shot, and it wasn't, that's probably, I guess, 20 minutes into the movie. So yeah, there are a couple things that were out of order, but yeah, for the most part, at least the big plot lines, he kept it chronological.
Now, there's this scene towards the end where everybody's out in the woods. That just looked like it was cold as hell that night when you were filming.
Yeah, it was extremely cold that night. It was a long, long shoot night, and I think we were pushing like a 14-hour day that day. And night shoots are always, I mean, I liked them. It kind of just rejogs you, and it makes you kind of get onto this whole new routine. And I like kind of doing that, and being up all night, and kind of switching it up. But yeah, sometimes, especially with getting the lighting right, and then you're racing the sun too. You don't want to be shooting when the sun's coming up. But yeah, that was a really cold night. We had a lot of coats out there, and we were all pretty cold. But I mean, everybody was a team player. Everybody was there to do it, and excited about it.
And Infliction has really gotten some good attention from the film festivals. I know it was nominated for 9 awards at Macabre Film Festival out on Long Island last weekend, and I know Jack picked up an award for that. So that has to be satisfying, knowing that the movie that you're in is garnering that kind of critical acclaim.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's really gratifying, especially as the first feature that I was a part of as a lead. I mean, it's motivating too. It's certainly that it helps you think that what else is in store. And I'm just really happy Jack's done a great job getting it out there. I mean, that's half the battle is getting your projects seen and getting them circulated, and he's done such a great job doing that. The recognition that he's picking up, he certainly deserves it. And the one, he got, I guess, best screenplay, and then in the Maccabee, and then Niagara Film Fest, he picked up an award. So yeah, just really happy for Jack and the whole team. It's inspiring to keep working, and that if you keep at it, good things will happen. So yeah, it's always nice to see Infliction in the media and see that it's doing well.
Now, moving away from Infliction for just a minute, a little birdie told me that you're a pretty good dancer.
Yeah, I do like to cut a rug from time to time out on the dance floor. Those are more of my college days that I had probably too much time on dance floors, hanging out and practicing that part of my craft. But yeah, man, I love dancing. I took a little bit. I took a little bit in college, more I took a tap class of all things. It was so funny, and I was in the class with a bunch of musical theater majors who had all had this classical training and been training their whole life. And here comes this frat guy in with like soccer shorts on and these shoes that are too big for him. And I mean, everyone was just baffled, like, why are you here? You're not supposed to be here. So, but I loved it. I enjoyed it, and I still I love hip hop and trying to dance. So yeah, it's I always have a blast if I go out on the weekends. I'll usually find my way to the dance floor at a certain point.
How soon after you made Infliction did you move out to LA?
It was pretty soon. We wrapped. We wrapped in October or no. We wrapped in like early November of 2011. Moved out to LA in March of 2012. So it was about like 4 months that I had back in Virginia, and then I made the leap out.
That had to have been a fairly major decision to just strike out on your own and go out to LA.
Yeah, I had always hoped, or that was always the grand plan, is saving up and eventually making the move out there once I kind of got all my ducks in a row. But Infliction certainly was the biggest catalyst that kind of prompted me to move when I did. Looking back, I probably would have done, looking back on it now, it's easier to say that I probably would have done more of what Jason did, and he got a little more work, some bigger credits on the East Coast, and then made the leap out here, which is really great. If you can build up some credits there, it just makes everything out here happen a little better and a little faster for you. But yeah, Infliction was the big thing. Like after I got off that movie, I just had a lot more confidence that I had done a feature that that this is what I certainly wanted to do for the rest of my life, and so that really inspired me to make the move as soon as I could. So yeah, it only took me 3 months to kind of get everything planned out and figure out where I was going to live and all that, and make the drive across the country.
What was the first thing that you did once you got to LA?
I had a burrito. I moved in with a couple of buddies I knew from high school, and a lot of them are actually in the backside of production and work for agencies and things like that. And a couple of them had already been out here for a little while, and so they took me to like a local spot that they really loved, and that was actually the first thing. I got in late that night, whatever night I ended up coming in. And my buddy who was driving with me across country, I had to take him to the airport because he was flying back early the next morning. So as soon as we got in, we just went and grabbed food. But yeah, that was it. And I've been eating a lot more Mexican, I think, ever since, just being in Southern California.
There's nothing better than Mexican food. I'm in Phoenix, so that's part of my diet.
Oh yeah. So you get it too there, certainly.
Yeah. I was watching your demo reel, and I saw that you were in actually one of my favorite westerns. The Assassination of Jesse James.
Yes. It was actually. I don't want you to get too excited. It was a scene that we did we just did a kind of a reenactment scene when I moved out here. A lot of the film schools will bring actors in and kind of recreate these scenes, more for production and more for these directors to kind of see these iconic scenes and how they were shot and why they're so held in such esteem, and kind of get them to recreate that. And so they always bring in actors who are looking to stay fresh and do work. And so yeah, we just did that one scene. I wish I could say that I was in a remake of that entire movie, but no, it was just that iconic scene from that movie.
Well, it's a fantastic scene, and it's, regardless of that, it's still one of my favorite westerns. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what they have people do it. It's like movies like that. They're gonna have actors recreate that kind of stuff all the time, just because it's great for the actors and it's great for the people shooting it to kind of figure out why it was so special.
And you were also in an episode of one of your co-stars' web series, Social Anxiety.
Yeah, Anna was. I guess you talked to her a couple days ago, or you're going to talk to her.
I'm going to talk to her this afternoon, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, she. I think she co-wrote it and certainly produced it. She had a big hand in that whole web series that they did for. I think they shot 7-8 episodes. It was a season, certainly, and yeah, she was great about that. Was like right after I finished Infliction, like a couple months later, before I moved out to LA. She invited me back down to Charlotte to shoot that. So, and that was really cool. And that's just a cool like testament that people, that once you start working with people and you enjoy working with them, that you realize how much of a collaboration and team effort it can be. And so she was really cool about saying, hey, if you want some work, if you want to come do this with me, let's do it. So yeah, I enjoyed doing that.
Yeah, it seems to me that particularly on the indie movie scene, that there's a lot more of a family feel to it, as opposed to what you might find in LA.
If you're lucky enough to get in with a director who, was doing indies before, he gets picked up for studio films, or you always still run into relationships where, even big directors all, love using the same actors and just have that relationship with them where they're always going to work together. But, yeah, I mean, and Jack is the same way. I mean, he's brought back Darren, who was the lead in his first film, Disorder. He came back and worked on Infliction with us, and hopefully, you'll have to you have to get the green light from Jack, but hopefully we'll be seeing Jack too in his future projects if he doesn't want to strangle us by now. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean he's very loyal and very if he likes somebody, likes an actor, he wants to use them again and keep them involved. And the same goes with actors. Even out here, Jason and I keep in contact. So hopefully, one day we'll have the opportunity to work together again.
How did you get involved with American Horror Story?
Oh, that was right when probably 7-8 months after I had been out here, and it was actually just stand-in work for American Horror Story. What was his name? Evan Peters. So I was doing what every struggling actor does. You went out there and did stand-in work, but it was great being on the set. And obviously I got to meet him, and Adam Levine was on the set for a while. I think they were doing a promo shoot for it as well. But so I got to see some of the bigger names and the actors and talent there. So that was fun.
Was that the first project that you did when you got to LA?
Probably not. I did a big music video when I came out here for a guy named Chris Lake, where I was the lead in, and that was like one of my first projects. And then Love at the Christmas Table was pretty shortly after that, where I had a small role in that film that shot out in Pasadena. I can't really. I mean, it was pretty soon after I got out here, but I don't think it was the first thing I did.
And then, as I said, you were involved in General Hospital as well.
Yeah. I was I went on set and did some work on there, and I've stayed in contact with them. So hopefully, at this point, it's just all about trying to build, your under 5 credits and co-stars and try to get into the TV game. So pretty hopeful about this pilot season coming up, and kind of it takes time to get where you want to be with the right representation, and they want to see you in the rooms a lot before they start having enough confidence to booking you. So but yeah, I still stay in contact with the production over there, and I've gotten some good auditions for even Young and the Restless recently, and that's a dying industry right there, the soap. So it'd be really cool to get on one of them.
Growing up, that was my mom's thing, was the soaps, and there were so many of them at the time.
Yeah, they're dropping like flies, man. They're it's like down to I think 2 or 3 of them now. There's just like not as much. All the people that grew up watching them are really old or already dead. So
Yeah.
it's hard to revive a new youthful audience for them. And plus too, just TV in general has just gotten so much better. With all these awesome shows. Starting with The Sopranos, and now with stuff like Breaking Bad and things like that have just become so much more theatrical, and these really in-depth intertwined stories that TV now is just there's a whole different standard for it. There's a whole different expectation. So which is a good thing. I'm saying that in a good light, that TV has gotten so much better in general over the last 10-15 years. So that's great.
Oh yeah, and it used to be that movie actors would almost look down on TV roles as
Yep,
it was something
you got it.
beneath them, but now everybody's trying to get into a TV show. It really, it's almost another golden age of television.
Oh yeah, I mean, you look at somebody who's like an A-lister on the top of his game, winning Oscars, like Matthew McConaughey, and he petitions and wants to get picked up for an HBO True Detective one series role. I mean, that's incredible when you start seeing that, where a lot of these TV. I just saw too Wet Hot American Summer, the new remake series that Netflix original. Bradley Cooper signed on to it. So like, yeah, these actors that are like on the top of their game, and have offers coming in by the bookloads. I mean, it's still important for them. They want to get on these shows that they know are creating so much wake.
One of the things that I found interesting about that is, Kevin Spacey's doing the show on Netflix,
Yeah, House of Cards.
House of Cards. And what amazes me about that specifically is it's not even a cable channel. It's a movie streaming business that just started going into making original series. So that is even further away from television. And
Yeah, it's just like a whole, and now it's just a whole different market. Is this live or streaming video content that you can pick up as you go when you want and stop it when you want. And that's even with HBO Go is kind of this very parallel to Netflix, where you can just pull it up on, if you have an HBO account, you can pull it up on your Apple TV or Chromecast or whatever you have. It's just like, and I think Netflix announced something crazy recently that they wanted to have, like, by the year 2016 or 2017, they wanted like 20 original Netflix series. And don't hold me to that number. It might be less than that, but it's something that's certainly like really high, where it would turn your head and be like, wow, that's that's pretty amazing.
yeah, and Amazon is going into the feature film business now, releasing
Yeah.
movies theatrically. And
Well, they what is it with Jeffrey Tabor? Jeffrey Tabor is in that Transparent, the guy from yeah, and
yeah,
that's doing awesome. That's picking up so many awards and getting so much recognition. So, like, yeah, man, it's crazy that with all these outlets now, they've realized that TV is certainly, they don't need networks, and they don't need TV to have an audience and to make really great shows. So now they're becoming really independent and doing these things on their own. And now they have the money to do it too. I mean, Netflix is killing it.
yeah, and even Amazon signed Woody Allen to do a TV series. I mean,
What is he doing? I'm not. Is he doing something that's on like a web streaming, or is he
no,
doing that?
it's going to be on Amazon. He's
Oh,
doing it
okay.
just like Jeffrey Tambor is doing it with Transparent. He's going to create this series that's supposed to be out sometime next year, I guess. But there's somebody who's been around the industry for decades, never had an interest or willingness to do TV, and now all of a sudden, Amazon got him. I think that just is really
Yeah, I mean
incredible,
that.
and it shows just how much the industry is changing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that says something right there. So yeah, it's crazy, but it's good. I mean, you can't, if as long as it's really good stuff being made. And I think actors, generally speaking, actors that are still trying to make a name for themselves and get work, that it's hopeful. It's great that things are moving in that direction. It just means more opportunity, hopefully.
Now you started out doing musical theater as a kid.
Yeah, I did a lot of musical theater. Both my brother and my mom was, very, very good about, letting us do that and letting us stay active and miss some school so we could do these productions. And I think that's probably where I got the bug. And, I always enjoyed performing, but kind of came away from it by, middle school, high school, kind of thought I was too cool for all that stuff. I did a drama class, which was great. I had this drama teacher named Clyde Barry, who still, I mean, he taught a freshman high school drama class like a college course. I mean, he really made it a challenge, but made it interesting too. And so I think that I definitely realized that I still had the interest, but I didn't really do much with it until college. I mean, I had a theater minor, but it was more the classes. It was more just doing the curriculum and getting the minor. I didn't really do many productions outside of my actual course study. And then, so yeah, it wasn't until after college that I kind of came back to it and said, this is probably something that I want to do seriously and actually, spend time making a career out of.
So, do you have a preference as to doing movies and TV, or do you like stage better?
I like film, especially. I think I had to make that decision whether go to New York or go to LA when you make that next jump, and I think my heart is more into film. I just like the way you can just do so much with editing and cutting things, and the score adds so much to it. Stage is great. I mean, live performance is just like that's an adrenaline rush. And I've done a little bit of stage out here. Theater scene in LA is a little lacking, unfortunately. There's not much provided for an actor to try to have a job, to pay bills, to try to make rehearsals and everything. It just stage takes so much more time out of people's schedules that it doesn't. The theater scene around here is not great, but I did a play last year here in North Hollywood, and that was a lot of fun. And you do find people here that really love it and have these little black box theaters and are always putting on shorts or one acts. And so yeah, it's something that I think if I had the luxury to make enough money acting film and television, that if I had that free time, I would certainly want to do something back on stage. But right now it's not like a priority or focus of mine.
Is there a particular genre that you prefer to be in? Like comedy, drama, horror, whatever.
Yeah, I love comedy. Comedy is kind of where I want to be. You can talk to any struggling no-name actor, and they'll tell you that the first 10 years of their career, you don't really have the luxury to choose. You take what you can get, and then eventually you can kind of refine your craft to what you want if you can pick and choose the kind of projects you want to do. But yeah, I love comedy a lot. I try to go to a lot of improv shows out here and kind of stay somewhat involved in the improv scene. And yeah, comedy is where my heart is. But it's humbling. It's awesome to know that I can do drama too. Getting something like Infliction that's so dark and on the opposite side of the spectrum. That was so cool. I mean, to be able to kind of show that versatility and do that is awesome. So hopefully, I can do it all. But I think that every actor in a perfect world would say that. But yeah, my heart is in comedy.
Well, and something that Jason and I talked about is comedians always seem to make the best dramatic actors too.
Yeah, some of them certainly do. I guess if you haven't seen a lot of their stand up, sometimes I always find myself, if you see a guy who's got like a lot of great stand up and then you see him, playing this really serious dramatic role, you can just watch his internal thought process if he's just like cracking jokes on himself, like, oh my God, what am I doing right now? Sometimes you can't take them seriously because you're so used to seeing them as themselves. But yeah, there's a lot that really can. So
yeah, he was mentioning that about Steve Carell in The Foxcatcher
specifically.
Oh
yeah, and I guess and he's not so much a stand-up either. He's he was just coming from The Office. He's a freak. He's awesome. Steve Carell did a great job. He's 1 in a million though. He's great.
So if you had a chance to do any kind of a movie, now Jason wants to be a superhero. That's his thing. What would be your thing?
My thing, I think, is not so much because this could be any sort of character, but I would really like a physical transformation. I think that like is always something that an actor hopes for, is something that where I would either have to change dramatically, to get starved or put on 50 pounds of muscle or get obesely fat, something where it was like a physical challenge too. I think would be so cool, just to also be, it makes you just become that person even more. And I think that's like, really exciting. So anything that would cause me to have a huge physical transformation is something that I've always hoped that, that I could do one day.
Hey, it worked for De Niro in his early career.
Yeah. What are you talking about specifically?
When he played Jake LaMotta in Raging Bull, and he put on about 50 pounds for it.
Oh wow. Yeah. See, I don't even think I've seen that.
Dude, you have to see Raging Bull. It's a classic. It's one of my favorites. It's really a good movie.
Yeah, I'm gonna put that on my queue here and make sure that it was 1980. Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that out. When you see a lot of these actors that really have a physical transformation, it's great. And
yeah,
and they always, of course, joke around that you're always up for an Oscar if you're either playing someone who's disabled or you have to put on 50 pounds of muscle or starve yourself so you look completely inebriated. So
Yeah, and Christian Bale did it in the Machinist.
Yeah, he did it in the. He also did it it was right after he did like The Dark Knight and all that. He had that other film. Wasn't he a gambler? The brother who, what was it? Let's see here. No, not The Prestige. Oh, yeah. He did a great job in The Fighter. Yeah, he lost all that weight, and he lost all that weight in the movie The Fighter. He did awesome. He was like tweaked out, alcoholic, gambler.
So, who's some of the actors that you admire, or that you, I don't want to say emulate, but maybe look up to?
I really like, and this might sound a little cliche, but I really really like Leonardo DiCaprio. I think that he's just like, and to a lot of people also, make the parallel between Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt, as he's leading. But I think they're completely different. Whereas Tom Cruise, I think, plays kind of himself in every role. Brad Pitt really takes on these characters that I love so much. I really like. I don't know if you've heard of him. This guy named Luke Grimes.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be. I think he's going to be really something. In the next 5 or 6 years. If you've seen some of the independent stuff he did, I kind of like got hooked on him when I saw War Eagle Arkansas. We were actually watching it to kind of help with my character in Infliction. But I saw it and then continued to kind of watch his work, and I think Luke Grimes is going to be big. I mean, I think he's got a lot of potential there. He had a small role, in American Sniper, a supporting role, but it really didn't show his versatility. I mean, I think he could do some really powerful stuff.
He was in one of my, I always use the word favorite, but it really is, All the Boys Love Mandy Lane.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he's awesome. I think he's going to be a really interesting guy to kind of watch his career unfold. And he's still pretty young. I think he's like 30, 29, 30, something like that.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think 50 Shades of Grey is either going to completely make him or bury him.
Well, yeah, I think, it'll certainly make a lot of money. That's for sure. But that's one of those things too. It kind of seems like it might be a safe, the roles in that kind of movie are going to be somewhat safe.
So, what have you got coming up in the future, Elliot?
Right now, I'm waiting for one of the film I did. It should be pretty cool, called Jackrabbit 29. It's still in post, so I'm waiting for that to kind of come out so I can see the full. I've seen some shots from it, but I haven't seen the full feature. And then just we're coming into pilot season now in the next couple weeks, so just working hard with my manager to get into the rooms. I'm taking class with a great acting teacher, Richard Brander, who has done a lot with like Kevin Costner and other big name actors. He's been out here for a long time. He's an older guy, but I'm staying in class with him, and I feel like I'm getting better and learning a lot of things. So just even when you don't have work that's being thrown at you or that you can get, it's just, I found that's really important to just kind of always stay busy doing something, whether doing some writing on the side for a comedy, something that just creatively on the side that eventually one day I want to get going. And so I'm trying to stay in classes and improv, and so I'm auditioning 3-4 times a week for whatever comes my way. So just trying to stay busy, man. Just trying to stay busy out here, and hopefully something will bite.
What's the best piece of acting advice you've gotten?
The best piece of acting advice I've gotten recently, I can say that. Well, I guess two things that I've heard from several people, and I'm sure you've even heard this one. It's important when you take on any character to like your character, and I think it sounds really simple, but I think it's really important. Even if you're playing, you could be playing a pedophile, you could be playing a serial killer, what have you. It's important to fall in love with your character, because that is going to make a true performance. If you really believe what he's doing is right, and his drive and his motive is right, and it's justified, and as a person you might not be able to justify it or make sense of it, but as an actor you have to truly fall in love with whatever you're playing, and can completely 100% commit to it. It could be the most unlikable guy in the world, but to you he has to be likable. And another great, I guess, just for auditioning that I've kind of learned quickly is for when you get a script, so many people, you see actors run out and start highlighting their lines and just reading what they're saying, but it just to take a step back and just read the whole thing 2 or 3 times, not even focusing on your character, just to come away from the scene knowing what the scene's about, not necessarily what you're saying and what you're doing. Because as you know, so much of it is listening what the other character, whoever you're performing with, has to say. And so I think that's really helped me too, kind of take a step back and just read the scene for what it is, not for who your character is.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I was really impressed with in Infliction is a lot of the acting, specifically between you and Jason, didn't have as much to do with what you were saying as the way that you interacted with each other. You know, the way that you would give each other a look or the body language or something.
Yeah, and that was important for Jack to have show through in the film, because they don't need to say a lot to each other. They've they don't really have that many other friends. I'm sure John probably has more friends than Kenny and is a bit more social, but they've grown up. They've spent the last 24 years of their lives together pretty much every day. So the dialogue really isn't really needed. And when you're making a found footage film and it's supposed to be so realistic that that's really what you're doing in a car. You're not talking the whole time. You're not having these big meaning of life conversations. You're just being you. And so I think that definitely was done well in the film. So thank you for pointing that out. Appreciate it.
That's probably a good place to stop, and I really appreciate your coming on, Elliott. It's been a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Thanks so much for having me on, Scott. It's always to see people that are supporting the film and that it's getting recognized out there and they want to take the time to talk about it is always great for us and great for the film and great for Jack, and we just appreciate all the support. So thank you too.
All right, and anytime that you've got something new coming down the pipeline, let me know and we'll get you back on so you can promote it.
Yeah. Hopefully this year, I think this year will be pretty good for me. I have a couple things that are kind of right now on the fence, and hopefully I'll have some things to talk about pretty shortly here, and that would be great, and I'll make sure I stay in contact with you.
And we'll have links on the show page where you can find out more about Elliott and his work, as well as his social media links. And if you enjoy the Imaginarium, check out our other shows on the Supernauts Network at thesupernauts.com. And until next time, may all your journeys be filled with pure imagination.
This is a presentation from the Supernaut Network.
Welcome to the Imaginarium, the show where art, technology, and creativity intersect and combine to forge a conversation that can only be found in the Imaginarium. I'm your host, Scott Colbert, and today's guest, Anna Shaw, is an actress, writer, and producer who can be seen in the indie movie Infliction. Welcome to the show, Anna.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here. So why don't you give us a little bit of your background so the audience can get to know you just a little bit better.
Okay. My name's Anna Shaw. I'm a actress and writer, mainly. Waitress when need to be. I'm trying to be charming now. It's not working. I'm just a waitress, actress.
You're one of the infamous waitress / actresses.
Yes. I was trying something new, and then I heard that everyone does it. I'm like, well, damn it. Can't even be original.
Well, there's always a barista.
I've done a barista, and I've never had coffee before in my life, yet I've been a barista.
How does that work? That you can be a barista and never have had coffee?
Right. People would just ask me what was my favorite, and if I had time, if it wasn't busy, I would just make the one that was the most fun to make. And if I was really busy, I would just make the one that was quickest.
So what was the most fun to make?
Any of them that took whipped cream and like chocolate syrup and like cherry, anything that had a lot of like extra pretty add-ins on that I just got to make designs with.
So wasn't it that you just never liked coffee, or?
It's just not a smell or a look that makes me think I want to ingest you. And then I also have a plan to do it on my deathbed because, in my head, I'm going to be old and in the hospital. And then if I do it like right before I die, I can say I did something new up until the end,
Well, hey,
Yeah, which is really morbid. It's a really morbid thing to do with coffee.
Well, that's
Whatever.
a good bucket list thing.
Right?
You know,
Because I doubt I'm going to be able to like jump out of a airplane or anything at that time. He jumped out of an airplane.
see, now that I couldn't do that. My fear of heights would prevent me from.
Right? Well, it was supposed to like help my fear of heights. I still have a fear of heights because here's the thing: like when you jump out of an airplane, there's a dude who's done this a lot attached to you, and there's going to be there's a parachute. Like when you're climbing a ladder, that's not there. Like I don't know why that's supposed to help you with your height, but people always claim it. Like try skydiving. No, it doesn't help with your height. But I did it, and then I still had a fear of heights. So bucket list check.
Oh, well, that's not fair then.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Infliction. How did you get involved with that?
Well, it's somewhat cheating. I knew the casting director already. I'd worked with him. So he told DJ Barton, who casted it, and so he told me about it. Uber helps when you know the casting director and they already know what you can do. So I kind of went in. I went in as Andrea the whole time. So Jack only saw me as her, which helped. Yeah, and apparently I did good on the audition because I got the part.
Well, you do a marvelous job in the movie. I was really impressed. I was impressed with everybody's work on that. Because usually when you hear the term indie movie, you think, oh, cheap sets, bad acting, and this was so totally the opposite of that. You know, I commend you for your performance in it. Jason and Elliott spent time together before you actually started filming. Did you try and stay away from them beforehand, or to keep in your character?
Yes and no, because our characters aren't close. We try to kill each other. So we're not the best of friends, but we are siblings and we did grow up together. So there has to be that sort of relationship and we know each other. We've experienced stuff together. But there's also this huge chunk of our entire adult lives we haven't had together. So I did go up and spend time with them. They, however, like lived together. They were from, I think Jason was living in Atlanta at the time and Elliott was living in Virginia maybe. But I was living in Charlotte, which is where we filmed it. So it kind of helps that I was the one that just got to go back home and they continued to live together, which I think really worked out because we weren't close and I don't come in until really the third act. Somewhat kick ass, yet also get my ass kicked. But we still had to have that connection of I know you, we've grown up together. You know, like we have a history that we look at each other and it's like, oh, they have a history. So I did get to spend some time with them with rehearsals and stuff like that. But no, it wasn't like a go dancing. And
how do you prepare for a role like that? It has to be very difficult to get into the mind of a character like you play.
Yes. Basically what I did was I substituted people because she's in love with her dad. She doesn't love her dad. She is in love, wants to have a child with him, did have a child with him, but wants to be a family with just him, her, and their child. Like that, she's that level of love with her dad, which is not normal, to put it in a nice way. It was basically substituting maybe someone I have been in love with, or, you know, but it's not something like, oh, let's draw from my past. No, that didn't happen. And then you have to go in, and there was a lot of research on psychologically what happens with child abuse, but then like the boys did it in a different way. In a way, you can say she had Stockholm syndrome, you know, if I just said that. It was interesting, like if you think about she's had the same kind of history with her dad that the boys did, but their reactions are completely different. And her main enemy was her mom, actually. And so when the boys who have all these people they're blaming, like, she doesn't even think of that. Like, the social worker, this, that, like, those were all just obstacles in the way of her father and her. But her mom was the biggest obstacle and was the one that made her kill her child and all that stuff. If I answered your question.
She was also kind of a romantic rival.
Yeah, her and her mom were both going for her father, which I really don't think gave two shits about, really.
Yeah.
Any of them. So, but she was willing to kill her own child for him, willing to swallow a lot of, like, didn't look at, like, really, the boys are mad because, like, she's the one who brought them down to the basement for the first time, and that's when father started abusing them, but in her eyes, she was pissed and jealous. Like, why the F do you need them? You have me. Why really do you need anyone else? Like, we're supposed to be together, we're supposed to be happy. And, like, she couldn't wrap herself around that. So she was more of, it's a jealous mental fuck that I said that.
That's okay.
I just say the F word.
No, you're allowed to say the F word. We don't have any censors here.
Oh, good deal.
There's a scene, and I've talked about this with everybody, because I like getting everybody's reaction to this one. towards the end of the movie where you're all out in the woods.
Mhm.
And it looks like it's cold as hell.
It is cold as hell. That was not acting. It was like legitimately cold as hell. Continue. And if you notice, I'm wearing the least amount of clothes in that scene. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Yes, you were. How do you deal with the cold and still maintain acting?
Not well as I should have. I'm gonna be honest. Not as well as I should have. Basically, you just suck it up and do it. And you're trying to be like, I remember being in that hole, or grave, if you will. I was like shivering, my whole body was like jerking around, and then they'd be like, all right, rolling, and I'd be like, stop, get in the mindset, all right, get it. But like, and then they'd yell cut, and my body was just like, oh. And then, can I just say, we've already pointed out that I'm wearing the least amount of clothes. So there was, someone would hand us our jackets at the end of when they'd say cut. They handed everybody else a jacket first. And then me wearing a like turtleneck and wet blood on me, like handed mine. And I'm just like, this is chivalry dying right now. But all the guys are like, yeah, give me my jacket. And I'm just in the hole going, are you effing kidding me? No, give it to the girl.
Oh, and they say acting is glamorous, huh?
Right? Yeah, no. It was like it was a really awesome night as far as like that. If you think about it, like no one else in the world was doing that at that time. Like no one else. Like my favorite part was when I was like lying dead in the ditch beside my fake baby, who was awesome. Like I don't know how close up. I don't think I ever really got to show. Like the audience will never know how really awesome looking that baby was, and it's a shame because I forgot who did it. I'm so sorry. He did such a great job making that baby. The dead, decomposed baby. But I was lying in a ditch next to her, and everyone, for some reason, that's when they started caring about the fact that it was cold and I was in the ditch. When I was in there, they're like, all right, let's hurry up. She's freezing. And I'm like, actually, no, I'm awesome. Because it was just like, I was lying there going, no one else in the world, I'm really hoping not at least, is doing this. I'm getting paid to lie in a ditch next to a dead fake baby. This is awesome. Like, that was my favorite, like, realization of, I'm, like, this is making a movie and this is awesome.
What was the hardest part of the shoot for you?
The hardest part of the shoot was probably just when I had this big monologue and I was telling them the story of what happened with the baby. That was probably the hardest because that's when it's just like, yeah, you're cold, Anna, fucking suck it up and do what you gotta do. And like, you're just trying to stay in character and go through what's happening. But it's not like a situation that, of course, you can relate to. So you have to draw from other things. That was the most challenging. So you love it because you're like, that's the scene you're looking forward to the most. I was also excited about shooting guns, but that's the scene you're like, that's going to be your biggest challenge. But that also means it's kind of the hardest because biggest mental exercise probably, I guess, to get where you need to get and then stay there while you're in no clothes, in the middle of the woods, in the middle of the night, and you're freezing. That was the hardest, but probably in a good way.
So what we heard the hardest? What was the best part of the shoot for you?
I really loved. This probably wasn't if I had to really think of it, it was just I don't know if best, but I really loved my entrance where it's basically me just beating up my brothers with a fire poker. Like that's just awesome. I really feel like I had the best entrance and exit of anyone in the film. If I do want to toot my character's own horn, I did. That was awesome to me. I mean, basically, it's like, like they've already mentioned me. I mentioned a few times before you meet me, but that you're in Andrea's house. You're looking around. You're getting to learn about Andrea, just seeing her house. And then all of a sudden, I run up with a fire poker and whack, I love how Jason, who's like 6'3", Jack, with muscle.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
He's a big guy, and I just lay him out once, and then like Elliott, who is like, I'm not nothing against Elliott, but he's just not as big as Jason. Yet I whack him quite a few times. He goes down the stairs, and yet he's still like having a conversation with, like he was the hard one to get. That's what I love. Jason with all his muscle, it's just like, and you're down.
That is a good scene. That's probably one of the better entrances for a character, too. I mean, if you're going to have a character come out, you may as well have them come out swinging.
Oh, yeah. And I was literally swinging. That was so great. And a fire poker. Freaking love it.
Was that like a foam fire poker?
There was like 3 different fire pokers. One was like a real one. And then one was like a rubber one. kind of rubber. Actually, there might have just been two because I only remember that one. But one was like just a lighter, dinkier one that if I had actually hit something with. But yeah, the one I think I was swinging was the rubber one, or the one I used the most. I think the hard one was just for the close up, or the real one. So that was cool. Anytime they make something special for you to hit something with, then you feel special. You're like, this is just for me. So I don't actually wreck this house, but you really take it as this was just for me. Because I deserve my own special fire poker.
Well, who doesn't, really?
Right? Right?
Yeah.
If only everyone got, at Christmas, just a special fire poker under the tree.
It's a Christmas tradition at our house. We all get different fire pokers. I mean,
really?
Doesn't everybody?
Like design different to really bring out your personality. You get a new one a year, so you just have them like lined across. So it's like that's your art piece on one entire wall. It's just every fire poker you've gotten.
Yeah, and they correlate to your height. So instead of putting a mark on the wall of how tall you are, you just get a fire poker.
Yeah, no, that's as clever as anything. How is this not caught on?
I don't know, but if I did, I'd be a millionaire by now, no doubt. Did you have to go through, do any training using the gun?
Yeah, here's the thing, and I always felt like an idiot holding a gun. I was like, this is not the correct way to hold a gun. At the same time, I was like, Andrea wouldn't know. It worked out because, like, it's not like Andrea isn't a professional firearm it kind of worked out that we both had the same amount of experience with a gun. But the most awkward was just riding in the car, being so close to him, holding that gun. But that's how I had to say it. Like, clearly he could just grab it. But in my head, it was more of a mental, like, yeah, I have a gun on them, but Andrea's more of a mental game. So through manipulation and just her presence. Either way, they're all going to the same place. Their goal is to go to the same place. Like, especially her and Jason, let's see what we can get out of the other person. I know she's not going to kill me right now. And I know they're not going to grab this. We're both going.
There's almost like a mutual understanding between the two.
I think they both wanted the other person to understand, I guess, where they were coming from. Also, she just wanted, like, it's finally happening. You guys are going to hear what really happened.
There has to be a lot of satisfaction with the critical acclaim that Infliction's gotten.
No, really it was, because, you spoke out independent films, usually think, but really nowadays, I feel like independent films, they're like, oh, it's an independent film starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes, like the people doing independent films, I'm like, that clearly is not an independent film. Like, I feel like independent films, your budget's nothing, there's no names, that's a real independent film, I feel, but now it's just like, well, a studio's not attached. That's really what the definition of independent film is. It doesn't have a studio attached, but you're still everything going to Sundance or Tribeca, all these supposed independent film things where they go and they hope a studio or a distribution, they're hoping to get distribution for their film. It's nothing but huge name actors in all those films. And you're like, wow, that's changed. Or independent films just changed, or films in general, over the past few years. For this being a true independent, no one knows who the three of us are, low budget film, the fact that it's gotten out there, thanks to Jack, that man is a marketing machine and just a determined, driven man. It's amazing. And I didn't see it. I'm like, wow, I did this 2 years ago. I hope I remember. People are, like I'm doing this interview. I'm like, oh, I did it 2 years ago. Remember, Anna, remember. So it keeps going, and that's amazing.
Yeah, that's the problem with film sometimes. You don't always have that immediate feedback to it like you do if you're on stage. And speaking of stage, you've done some stage work. You were in Liz Estrada and Elegy for a Lady.
Yeah, I was a theater major, actually, in college. I went to UT. So I started out in theater, which is it's completely different because you do your character from beginning, middle, and end, whereas films usually, like, for all you know, you're filming the last scene first. But as far as this was concerned, I actually think I know at least my part was filmed in chronological order, which was really nice for what she had to mentally go through.
Yeah, Elliott had mentioned that. He said there were a couple of minor things that were shot out of sequence, but the major plot lines were all in sequence, which I thought was very, very cool. Made sense for the kind of film it was.
And very very rare though, because I mean, by the time I got on there, because again, I don't come into like the third act. By the time I had done that, like that also helped Elliott and Jason probably. Everybody had already been filming like the first whole 2 acts of the movie, really, until I come in, and then yeah, we did it in order. So it helped me. It helped me and my character.
So do you have a preference between stage and film?
I mean, I'll be honest, if I could sing and dance, I would say musical theater every time, but I can't do that, so I don't get to pick that one. I like doing both. I like that I can do both, really. I love the live audience. I love doing comedy in front of live audience because your goal is to make them laugh. And if they laugh, then it's that energy. It makes me paranoid doing drama in front of an audience because you really have no clue what they're thinking. And, I guess really, if they do laugh, you're like, well, damn it, that wasn't supposed to happen. But so I guess comedy-wise, I like the live audience. There's just something about film because the camera's so close and it can be so intimate that you don't get it on stage, I don't think. For the person in the back of the room to really get to feel what you're feeling. That's a hard one. I like them both. Sorry.
That's okay.
Cheap way to answer that question. I like them both. Okay.
So definitely, I would say comedy is your preference for anything that you do. I would imagine that.
Yeah. The first time me and Jack really got to hang out was when we were going to get my head, which was so awesome, never done before. I got my head cast for like when they have to put my face on that looks like I've had my face cut off. So, because I went in to audition, I was just Andrea the whole time, which she's not a girl you want to go hang out with at a bar. And so the whole time we were going and we went to lunch, then we went to go get my face what's it called? Set or whatever it's called. For someone listening to this is thinking I'm an idiot because I can't think of the word. We were just talking about SNL, like the whole time, our favorite SNL skit. And he apparently, he's good friends with Will Ferrell's like makeup artist when he was on SNL, and he was there. Jack was there during the rehearsal of the cowbell, and I like could not get over that. I was like, oh my god, in the history of SNL, that's like the number. But I was like, are you kidding me? You were there when it came to life. Jack all of a sudden became the coolest person ever.
Oh, that must have been cool though. I probably would have been doing a little fangirling myself.
Oh yeah, like, the makeup artist, Will Ferrell, the person who did the cowbell. Yeah, no, it's like the Spaceballs. I'm your brother's cousin's first roommate, third remove, blah, blah, blah. What does that make us? Absolutely nothing.
Any connection is okay when it comes to acting, so gotta keep those connections front and center.
Oh yeah, no, like I waited tables recently, Russell Crowe, like he came into the bar and I waited tables. And it was like the huge story in my apartment with my roommates and my family. Like, we were like, shut up! And we're talking, and there's the silliest thing. Like, there was one connection where I got, like, our moment was, like, took his drink order. Like, that was it. And yet me and my roommates talked about it for, like, a week, how it was the coolest thing ever. And it's like, you took the man's drink order. And then, but, yeah.
What did he order?
God, I want to say it was vodka. I think it was Belvedere on the rocks. And then I'm an idiot because I don't know much about alcohol, even though I work at a bar. And I just don't drink. So I'm still, like, learning. And so I walked away, but I was like, oh, my God, what if he had, I don't remember if he said he wanted that mixed with anything. Oh, my God. So I walked back, and I just, like, he was starting to talk to people, and I had to interrupt it, which was the worst feeling ever. Oh my God, I'm interrupting Russell Crowe. I was like, I'm so sorry, this is the stupidest question I've ever asked, but did you want that mixed with anything? And he just looked at me like, oh, sweetie, you precious idiot. And I was like, no, that was the stupidest question. Like, he didn't even say anything. He just looked at me like that. I was just, so no, I'm so sorry, that was the stupidest question. No, and then I like walked off. What was funny was I was trying to get food orders because I thought the other waitress had gotten drink orders, and he just goes, okay, don't worry about anyone's food right now. I need a visit. And I was like, oh yes, your drink order comes first. Yeah. And then I ran in and put his drink order in, and then I came back and got people's food. So that was my experience with Russell Crowe. But then it came back, and I was like, guess what happened?
So you're in Atlanta, right?
I am in Atlanta.
Jason and Elliott made the plunge into Los Angeles. What made you stay back in Atlanta?
Back in Atlanta. Well, there's just so much being filmed in Atlanta right now. Like, ridiculous number of things being filmed in Atlanta. And Jason, he had already had his, like, I understand why, they moved, because they had already had their, like, if you look on their IMDb page, you recognize stuff. if you look at mine, you probably don't recognize stuff, so you just need to build up a certain, like, guest starring, or you got this, that. But see, especially like when I first started acting in the Southeast, you would get your one-liner or something, but everything else was cast in Los Angeles, and they would fly them out. Now, though, they are casting reoccurring roles from out of Atlanta actors because it's way cheaper to cast us, because you don't have to fly us out here, you don't have to put us up. So it's just a lot cheaper to live here, and we're getting cast. Okay, so I live with two other actresses. One of them just did Sleepy Hollow, we're really, really proud about. And then the other one was just in Magic Mike, which we're really, really excited about. If anyone sees it, it's the scene. She's the girl in the convenience store with Joe Manganiello. How do you pronounce his last name? He's the werewolf in True Blood.
Yeah, I've never been able to pronounce his last name.
Anyway, she's the pretty blonde in the convenience store with him, and he basically gives her own little lap dance. And we were like, shut up! That was a really exciting moment for the household. So they're casting out here, and it's cheaper to live out here. And also, I'm just a Southern girl. I think it would be, I've never been to LA, and I think it'd be cool to visit, but there's nothing about it that makes me think I want to live there. I'll watch pictures of people like hiking, and there's not one tree. I don't know if you know this, but this thing people keep hiking at, it's just dirt. I'm like, what, that's not hiking. You're climbing up dirt, and you're walking down dirt. That's stupid.
Yeah, well, I'm in Phoenix, so we have very few trees here either.
I went to Santa Fe over the summer with my aunt, and everyone's like, oh, look, you can see so far. And I'm like, oh my God, I can see people coming. Like, that's why, like you just feel like there's too much air. Because I've lived all over. I've lived in South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Georgia. So I've covered a good chunk of the Southeast. But there's trees and there's mountains. So you don't look that far. And I'm just, all of a sudden, there's too much air out here. I don't know. Can you guys feel that? There's too much air.
That's funny.
It was really cool to visit, but then I came back here going, okay, this is right. I think other people will come in here and maybe get claustrophobic, and I'm just like, nope, this is right. This is right. You see, I can't see 20 feet. I can't see 20 feet in front of me because there are trees there. That's good. That's good. If someone's hiding back there and they're about to attack me, I won't know it till it's too late. And that is good to know.
Yeah, well, growing up in New York, we had plenty of trees there, so I understand the difference. It takes a little bit getting used to having all that open air and not being feeling confined by nature.
Yeah, they're looking and they're like, that's like 20-something miles or whatever, how many miles away you can see. I'm like, why do I want to see that far? There's nothing. There's nothing in between me and that far. That is weird. Pop up a Walmart. God.
Oh, yeah, I think probably a Walmart would pop up somewhere along the line.
Yeah, or McDonald's.
Now, you did a web series called Social Anxiety.
I did. Yeah, me and my friends who I now live with, and we're working on another show right now. We just did it before I started talking to you. Or we worked on it before I started talking to you. Social Anxiety. We wrote that and then produced it mainly because we needed our SAG eligibility, which is hilarious because we started it for us to get our SAG eligibility, and then before we started filming it, we both ended up getting our SAG eligibility through other projects. Because isn't that the way? We could not get our SAG eligibility to save our lives until it's all right, we'll just do it ourselves. And then, of course, once you start doing it yourself, the universe is like, all right, here you go. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That came from a few years ago, more than a few years ago, but my brother-in-law he does a bunch of meetup groups because he's is interested in everything and really smart and knows about everything. It's one of those, but it's not annoying about it. He really does know about all this stuff, computers and all this stuff and beer. And I'm just like, how does your brain have that much room? But it does. It's amazing. But he saw a meetup group it was a meetup group for people with social anxiety. And I'm not making fun of people with social anxiety, but just the concept's kind of funny. If you think about it, it's a meetup group. It's a social gathering of people with social anxiety.
That's what appealed to me.
So we wrote a comedy web series about it, and it was a lot of fun.
And I watched some of it. I hadn't had a chance to catch all of it, but I watched the first 2 episodes of the first season.
Oh, really?
And it was funny. It was really funny.
Great, thank you.
And now you co-wrote some of that, didn't you?
Yeah, me and my friend Elise, who played the doctor in it, who actually, I guess not really a doctor, she wasn't licensed. That was going to come in the second season. But me and her, we co-wrote all of it together. And we co-produced it and ran it. Yeah, so I was really proud of that. I like writing. So that was our first time. Other than that, I wrote a play in college because we had to do playwriting one semester for our stage degree and then directing the next semester. So I wrote it. It was a one-act play the first semester, and then my friend directed it for his directing thing. So other than that, I never written anything that got produced and seen. That was that first thing. So now we're working on another one now that we both live together and they're in Atlanta. And
Well, it's certainly something to be proud of, and
we were,
your character in that had some anger issues.
Yeah, that's always fun. I like playing the ugly, anal, just did not know how to deal with other people. Because social anxiety comes out in many different forms, and we wanted to capture each form with kind of each character. And so mine was just, I guess you could say mine didn't understand other people.
The character who played Edgar Allan Poe, or who thought he was Edgar Allan Poe, that was so brilliant in the way he would only talk in quotes from Poe's work.
Yes.
That was just so funny.
Each episode he was a different person. Like he plays Marilyn Monroe one episode. And he's Mark Twain in another one, and he just quotes Mark Twain. And he just quotes Marilyn Monroe. And that was just because we also love Barry and wanted him in our thing, and we're like, we have to have his character be really interesting. Or he won't do it. But he's just a good friend and would have. But we knew he could play all these characters. I will say we were really proud of that because we'd never done it. I don't know if it. We always wanted to end up the best it can be, but we're really proud of it when we think, well, we had never done anything before. That was our first writing, first producing. So we're really proud of it. And it got a lot of us and our friends SAG eligibility cards. Or not SAG cards, their eligibility to where then they could go off and decide what they want to do with it. It served its purpose, and we're really proud of it.
If you could have play one role, what would it be? Now, Jason wants to be a superhero. That's his ambition.
Oh, yeah.
And
I wish you had said this because now it sounds like I'm copying him, but no. Yes. I want to be an X-Men.
An X-Men. Which one? Who would you want to be?
Even though it's already been cast. But I want to do it correctly. Not that she didn't do it incorrectly. That makes me think like I'm hating on her. She did fine. But, I grew up on the cartoon. So in the cartoon, she has the ability to fly and super strength. Well, the poor Anna, the other Anna, because we're so close because we both have the name Anna. She only got the uber shitty power, which was just that she touches people and either kills them or sucks their. Now in the sitcom or in the comic books, she gets it because she grows up with Mystique, gets a hold of her, and basically doesn't let her let go of someone with those powers, so she inherits those powers. And I guess in the movie she just hadn't done it. But I grew up and she was the southern one. And she had the will they, won't they with Gambit. Not like, what was his name? What was her boyfriend in the freezing one? The one that freezes everything. Crap, what's his name?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. It's going to bother crap out of me. Anyways, but it was will they, won't they with her in Gambit. Okay, and there was even at 7, I felt that sexual tension. So I wanted to play that. I've always wanted to be Rogue. And I remember I was like 18 too. I can't even claim I was like 12. I was 18, so my youth group went to Universal Studios, and I was all pissed because I was like, how did you guys not choose Disney World? But it was totally forgiven because we went there, and freaking Wolverine and Rogue come out, and I'm like, oh my God! I'm like, Rogue! And she goes, sugar. And she had the accent and everything. And she was like, someone was like, get a picture with her. I was like, no, I'll ruin it. I just want her. I lost my shit. Yeah, I want to be Rogue, straight up, with my real superpowers, which was also the super strength and flying. She was awesome. All of a sudden, they gave her just a crappy one.
A little discrimination going on in the superpower department there.
Right, well, that wasn't what, I guess they were going with a different angle with her and shit, but No, she was that. You just basically give her the worst superpower. Like, and she already had that crappy superpower. Like, she had to always have gloves and stuff, and it was like, you will they, won't they? But like, could they ever really? Is also one of them because of that power. But she also got to fly and beat up really. Like, she would like pick up machines and like, or just like entire trucks and throw them at people. No, this rogue is really poor thing, kind of powerless until she actually touches it. You know, like at that point she could have already been dead. Like no, they really just left her kind of like helpless in a way and with a really shitty power. It was really that poor girl. That's not my rogue. That's not the rogue I grew up with. That's not the rogue I want to exist in real life. But with that said, the actress did great. I'm not taking away what she did. I'm mad that they took those powers away from her. And her pick-assness. She was like, they made her really young, which I think comic book wise, she's actually older than Storm. So they made her a little kid.
Well, at least she wasn't Aquaman.
Right? Oh, what did Jason have an actual? He didn't actually say Aquaman, right?
No. Well, because he was just talking. Well, because he was eliminating everything because being blonde and blue, he couldn't be Batman. He couldn't be Superman. So he settled on Thor.
Settled on Thor. I
Yeah.
can see that. I mean, he has the freaking body for it. I'm not gonna lie. Not to toot his horn, but he works really hard. Yeah, no, I want Rogue. It's already been cast and everything. I get that, but that's the superhero I want to play. Or I definitely I don't want I do not like Superman. I do not like Supergirl. I don't even think they gave her a woman. I don't remember because I hate it when it's like, oh my god, bullets are going at Superman, and he just stands there. Like it's hard to really emotionally invest in a man that's only like real weakness is a freaking rock.
What about Wonder Woman?
That is it. I'm supposed to emotionally invest in someone who honestly can take a plane coming at him, bullets, this, that, and the other, and yet a freaking rock is what takes him down. No. Whereas Batman, that is a real ass man with no superpowers, like as vulnerable, both physically and mentally as all of us, and just kicks ass and takes names. X-Men, however, which is my favorite world to be in, is the X-Men world. These are like real people who grew up basically people not loving them, making fun of them, this, that, and never felt like they belong. And then they realize it's like, no, we're special and we can save people. Or no, we're special and everyone's an idiot and we should destroy all of them. There were two different ways you can go in the X-Men, you know? But either way, you're awesome with a superpower, but only really one, so you're still vulnerable. Still get shot and die. Like, yeah, X-Men world is the world. It's awesome. And I want to be Rogue, like a mofo.
No excitement for Wonder Woman?
I mean, first off, I would play anything. I would play any of these. Let's really put that out there. Okay. I would, in a heartbeat, play like the secretary of Superman who just pours him coffee, to be honest with you. I would play Wonder Woman, but as far as favorites, no. And she twirl, I don't know. I'm excited about the new Wonder Woman because her costume's better.
Well, there's a little bit of controversy with casting Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman because in the comics, Wonder Woman is an Amazon, and Gal Gadot doesn't necessarily have that type of physique.
No, she's tiny. Like, she's tall, but she's skinny. She's skinny.
Yeah.
Like, here's the thing. Hollywood Amazon and actual Amazon are different things. That's like Hollywood ugly, and actual ugly is like, I don't know if you've seen any show anywhere where the nerd is like, would have been the hottest person from my high school, and yet he's playing the nerd. I'm like, oh, come on, Hollywood. Come on. Also, no one has a zit in Hollywood.
Unless they're in a John Hughes movie back in the 80s.
Yeah. And then it's one zit, and it's ruined their lives.
And it was always on Molly Ringwald.
Yeah. It was like, oh my god. I was like, dude, if you had seen me in high school, I would have been like, I only have one zit. Like, it would have been the best day of my life to wake up with one zit. I'd have been like, please, take a picture of this. It will not happen again.
Yeah. I think I kept Clearasil in business for most of my teenage years.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, yeah. Like, pretty sure I kept my dermatologist in business. It just didn't work either. Like, it wasn't even like, they couldn't even call me pizza face. Like, the dots connected themselves. I was just one giant zit. You never see that. Everyone has perfectly clear, and of course, they all end up doing Proactive commercials.
Yeah, Adam Levine did a Proactive commercial.
Right, and then they show the picture of like the picture they had zits, and I guess they had a lot of makeup on it. I'm like, I don't remember seeing that, but she's a musician or something, yeah. But it's like, this is how I keep my face clear. I'm like, when were you ever not clear? Please, please, Hollywood.
Well, that's the typical Hollywood double standard, you know.
Right? I'm not. Oh, I love it. Who was it? Oh, I'm gonna regret starting this because I really have like 3 words to the story that I'm remembering. But it was oh my god. Okay, Dean Pelton from Community. Okay, gosh. Oh my god. Okay. Anyways, the guy who plays Dean Pelton, who I love so much. Apparently, he was in a casting room or something, and they were like, no, they not to him. They didn't call him this, but they were talking about like looking at people's headshots and talking about them. He was like, no, they're TV ugly. He's like, what? TV ugly? Like, it's a real thing. They really use those terms, TV ugly. And you'd watch TV, like, TV ugly. That's a real thing. And then those TV ugly people on the street would be like gorgeous, but you're considered the TV ugly.
So what's the new web series that you're working on? How much can you tell us about it?
Okay, we're actually trying to figure out the name because we have to change the name. Me and my 2 roommates, we're all girls around 30. Basically just the bullshit stories of our life. And I really, because that's such a broad topic, but I can't really talk about it. Can't talk about it too much, dang it. But it's just the stories that happen, or the people that come up to you and you just leave going, what the fuck? What the fuck just happened? Both not in anger, but more in like, wow, my life just took a turn. And it's just the comedy, those comedy moments where you're like, did that just happen? So it's basically that's what it's about. Those stories that happen to us as women around this age, or have happened to us in our past. Where it's just like, because we come home all the time and be like, what the fuck? This just happened to me. And it's just like, most of it's like, how did you not run away from that situation? But especially my friend Elise is just curious about everything. And me, I'm like, wow, that could have gone really badly, Elise. And she says, I know, but I was just really curious. I'm like, oh my God, please keep me on speed dial. I will come kick some ass for you. Afterwards, God, Elise, come on.
Didn't she hear what happened to the cat? Who's curious?
Right. I will say though, like, okay, so I was like looking, especially when I first moved here, I was like looking for jobs and stuff, and some of them were like really weird. But I've done it. I've been like, what would Elise do in this situation? Because she just kind of goes for it, and her life is interesting as hell. And like part of it's like, what the fuck? That would make me really uncomfortable. But then you hear about it later, you're like, what an experience! So now I'm like living like. That's why. So I submitted to stuff. I'm like, Elise would submit to this because she just does it, and she's like she'll text us. She'll be like, so I'm on a plane to Michigan. See you tonight. I'm like, what the fuck? You were just here 2 minutes ago. Now all of a sudden you're somehow made your life has turned to where you're on a plane to Michigan.
One, I think you found the title for it. What the fuck?
Right. We're actually working on the title now because the story that made us start thinking of this was such a great, like, it was the name of a man that went up to my friend, and it was like, what the hell? Like, it was the most random situation ever, but we can't actually use his name, so that's what we're struggling with so much, because his name was so perfect, but we can't use his name. But it was so, but now we can't get off of it though, so we're trying to like use variations of his name, and it's like, well, no, that's, I don't know, media company in Australia, we can't use that. Yeah. And you can get sued for using names nowadays. It's weird.
Yeah, well,
we can get sued for anything, but yeah.
Yeah, there's not much you can't get sued for anymore.
Yeah. So, now I'm really thinking about this entire interview being like, what can I get sued for? Whatever.
Well, so what's your biggest what the fuck moment?
What the fuck moment? I like it, and I wish I had a better... I'm usually the lead of the what the fuck. Sorry, every story I'm thinking of is so boring or so embarrassing. There's no medium. They're too embarrassing to where it's like, well, I don't really feel like saying that. Or it's boring.
Well,
one of them's going to be in this. A few of them are going to be in the show. So I don't want to give those. I don't know. What's your what the fuck? Maybe I can think of something. What's your what the fuck?
Oh.
It's not easy. Run the spot.
I have way too many. And some of them could be used as ammunition. Yes, it is a cop-out. But I'm the interviewer, so I can get away with that.
I know, but now I have to think of a story that's like, okay, well, you got to be...
all right, let me think of one.
You can edit yours out.
Yeah, well, I can, and I probably would. While I'm thinking of one, let me ask you, Who are some of the actresses and actors that you admire, that you look up to?
Favorite actress of all time? I have top three, and they just intermingle. They go back and forth to being my number one. Irene Dunn, Rosalind Russell, and Angela Lansbury.
Wow.
Yes.
Holy shit.
I go back and forth on who's my number one, but they're always they're the only ones that are ever like my number go. First of all, for entertainment purposes and for range that they've showed, like what they've been able to do. And just amazing careers. I mean, Angela Lansbury is still growing, and I don't even remember how many Tony Awards that woman's gotten. Or Tony nominations, at least. I know it's 4 at least.
Oh, she's fantastic. I got to see her in Sweeney Todd on Broadway back in the day.
Really?
Yeah. It was like a couple of weeks after it opened, and it was her and Len Cariou in the lead roles. And boy, so fantastic. I mean, it's one thing to see her do it on the recorded version that you see on TV or on the DVD, but to actually see her in person, it was amazing. I mean, that woman has more energy at whatever her age is. It's 80-something now than I do at 49 and probably ever had in my entire life.
Oh, I bet. Not a bet that you don't have energy, but that she was that energetic at that age.
Well, yeah, she is.
And she's like, I think of this all the time, and it's like silly, but like, she's gotten like almost every award except for an Academy Award. And I'm just like, and she's even said in an interview, she's just like, I'm looking for that one role, that one more. I still have hope for it. And, you know, she's getting up there, and I'll cry when she passes. I cried when Andy Griffith passed, because you know those people that Andy Griffith, with McClintock and with the Andy Griffith Show, that man was in my house multiple times a day my entire life, at least in my entire childhood. So he kind of was like the grandfather, you know. Like I loved my grandfather, and he was amazing. So it wasn't like if I could choose a grandfather, I would choose mine. But Andy Griffith was kind of like the grandfather that was in my house all the time. And I cried when he died. And Angela Lansbury was the woman that was in my house almost every day. And she's kind of the one I adopted as my grandmother. So I'll cry when she goes. But every day I'm like, oh, just give her that one more part. Just give her that. I don't know. But her very first film, she got an Academy nomination. Gaslight. Mm-hmm. And she always played she usually always played older. I mean, she played Elvis Presley's mom in a movie. I forgot which one. All the titles kind of were the same for him. Poor thing, never really got to stretch his acting chops, did he? But yeah, she was always like the mom, even though she was like 5 years older than the person. But she's just amazing. And I loved watching Murder, She Wrote, because you'll see all those old actors.
Yep.
And it went for 11 seasons. So like one season, they'd be like the victim. And then like you'd see them 8 years later and they were the murderer. But you're like, oh my gosh!
What was it about Irene Dunn? Because that's probably the most out of left field choice I've heard.
Okay. So you've seen An Affair to Remember, right? With Deborah Kerr?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Have you ever seen Love Affair?
Yes.
With Irene Dunn?
Mm-hmm.
So the original.
Yes.
The one that people apparently for some reason don't know exists. Now, if you watch Deborah Kerr's film, my opinion, I do not understand how he falls in love with her that fast. Like, I feel like she's uber dramatic about everything. Like, it's just, everything she's uber dramatic and but then you watch Irene Dunn's performance, and I fall in love with her in her first scene because she's just funny and charming and kind of has a quirk. She's a little quirky, even though she's gorgeous. I forgot what film she really came out with like right away, but she played like, she's just stunning. She's stunning. I don't know. And then when the little boy is like hanging on that thing and she warns him like, you're going to fall and you're going to break something. He was like, and she tells the story how where she fell and she broke something. He goes, well, are you okay now? And she's like, well, yeah, but then what you crabbing about? And just her reaction to that was so good. Beat Deborah Kerr's by a mile. And then you go on and you see her in Life with Father. And he's all like, and then the whole scene where he's like trying to get her to take back the pug.
Yep.
I don't know if you've seen the film.
Yeah.
Okay. She's trying to and he's saying, well, I have to pay for one of them. I have to pay for either, was it a suit? What was the other thing? It was a pug dog and something. And she's just like, well, she's like, no. And she's trying to explain how she exchanged them. And he's like, well, no, I have to pay for one of them. And she's like, well, you don't let them I mean, you'd think as maybe in a wife situation, like that would be frustrating. At the same time, how do you not fall in love with that woman? Well, you don't let them. I love her so much. I love her so much.
And she's still alive at 91.
Oh yeah, that's why. Because adorable people. Why not have them around?
Oh,
I don't know.
absolutely.
But she's just yeah, I love her, and she's just I guess she played more dramatic parts. I can't think of a name right now, but those were my two parts that I just fall in love with her at.
What about actors, male actors? Is there favorites of yours?
I mean, James Stewart, I love him, and I love him in Harvey and in Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. But Harvey, there's this one monologue he does, and he's like in an alley. He's been kicked out because he's at someplace because he's been talking to a invisible buddy that no one sees. And he just does this monologue. The minute I saw him do this monologue, I was like just in love with just him as an actor and him as a person. I forgot. It's just I don't know. He melts you, and you just totally fall. You just totally rooting for this crazy person who talks to Harvey, you know. And then I will always be the biggest John Wayne fan, both as a person and as an actor. Just because I'll read trivia on him, and I'll be like, he is the biggest badass ever. I do not get people who are like, do you like John Wayne or Clint Eastwood? And then they say Clint Eastwood. I'm like, you're a fucking idiot. Every time. Like, I read this story, I think it was on IMDb, where apparently he was on one floor and Frank Sinatra was having a party on the other floor. And they kept on, I guess he kept sending people to quiet down the party and everything. And it wasn't being quieted down. And apparently they didn't give a fuck that John Wayne was trying to sleep. So John Wayne then goes up there. And the guy answered the door, and he fucking punches him. And then after that, they quieted the party down. So, like, that's how he does it. He just punches the guy.
Yeah, I think only John Wayne could go up against Frank Sinatra and win.
Right? Oh, yeah. Yeah, anybody else would be like, okay, this is okay, and, like, hide their family somewhere. Not John Wayne. And also, there's another story that made the papers my mom was telling me about. And she to this day hates that she threw the paper away. But they were having some sort of rally against a war, and James Stewart and him were walking, and James Stewart had just lost his son in the war. I forgot, Vietnam War, I don't remember which one, I'm so sorry. And so when they saw them burning a flag, John Wayne just walked up and grabbed the flag and put it out and kept walking, because he was with his friend. They were really good friends. I mean, he did The Shootist, John Wayne's last movie with him. You know, they did a bunch of movies with him, but I think John Wayne like wanted him in his last movie. And he didn't even say anything. He just walks up, grabs the burning flag, puts it out, and walks away. Because he's with his friend who's hurting because he just lost his son. And only freaking John Wayne can do that.
That's a good story. And yeah, he was one of my favorites growing up too. I used to watch all of his movies, the westerns, the war movies, everything.
Yeah. Oh, I quote him all the freaking time, and like no one knows what I'm talking about most of the time. My favorite one that I think about is like, Mister, oh man, I'm gonna mess it up. I mess it up every time, but I still love it. But basically, it's McClintock, who was I think my favorite like go-to film of his because it's just fun, and I love Maureen O'Hara. But it's like, Mister, you caused a lot of trouble here. Could have gotten somebody hurt. Somebody ought to punch you in the mouth, but I won't. I won't. Hell, I will. And then he punches.
I remember that scene.
Yeah. Anytime anyone pisses me off, I'm like, Mister, you caused a lot of shit here. Where I fucking punch you. It's entertaining. But I refuse to watch any of the ones where he dies in. I mean, I've seen The Shootist so many times because it's his last one. I get so excited that, oh my god, we in names right now. Opie, come on.
Ron Howard.
Ron Howard, thank you, saved me. Ron Howard's in it, and Lauren Bacall. Like, I get so excited, that grouping. And I think at that point he was already directing, but he came back because who wouldn't? Like, I'm sorry, John Wayne is doing a film and you're in it. You get in front of the camera. I can't watch the ones that he dies in because John Wayne's not supposed to die. What are you doing?
Yeah, Sands of Iwo Jima. He dies in that. I just saw that.
He has to, like, I think save his grip. He dies. Sorry, I don't remember the ones that he dies in because, again, I refuse to watch them.
I knew Sands of Iwo Jima just because I saw that not that long ago. I was flicking through the channels and it was on, and I just automatically had to stop and watch because, well, you know, it's John Wayne. And he plays kind of a prick in it. I mean, his character isn't very likable to begin with, which really kind of went against type for him at the time because usually, you know, he's the one that you root for, and you still do kind of root for him towards the end, but at the beginning he's really kind of he's just a dick. There's
Yeah.
no getting around it.
Yeah, I'll watch like the ones like before he made, was it Stagecoach? I think was his first John Ford big, where it was an A-list movie and he was the star in it, I think.
Yeah.
Before that though, he did all those, they just always have the movie beforehand. So he played a lot of B movies, and he was the cowboy, and he was so handsome. But they try to make him like a singing cowboy at one point, and he can't sing. They actually make a joke about it which I mean, if you actually grow up with my mother and watching these films through her eyes, all these things are so hilarious, because every time McClintock, like, his daughter is singing that duet in McClintock, and he's like, sings like your father, and every time my mom would be like, they did that because he can't sing. He's known for not being able to sing. So every time they said, "I'll get it," because they try to make him like a singing cowboy when he first started out, so he couldn't sing. But anyway, side note about John.
What's your favorite John Wayne movie?
I want to say, okay, it's not Stagecoach, but I always want to say Stagecoach because it's just like the first, and he's young and handsome. Oh gosh, I can't pick one. I mean, I think for growing up purposes, are the ones that make me like, because you always have those favorite movies just because you grew up with them.
Mm-hmm.
The Clinton have to be that. But I do love. I'm trying to think of it. I don't know. I'm gonna say Stagecoach, and then the interview's gonna be over, and then I'm gonna be like, it was this one.
Well, I'll tell you mine, and it's The Quiet Man.
Oh, yeah, and that's the one, like, there's very few that he wasn't either in a war or a Western. And him and Marina Hare, that's actually my dad's favorite, I think.
Because it has that classic fight scene in it that seems to go on forever.
And it's not a Western, but he's still John Wayne. It's a love story, but he's still John Wayne, you know? And I know, and that's what, I'm sorry, they don't have movie stars anymore, but that is a movie star. He sold movies strictly on being John Wayne. You went because you wanted to see John Wayne. I will say my favorite, like, okay, the number of films of his that I can't watch because, and I'm sorry, I am a feminist, but the female lead in it is so annoying, I can't watch it. Are ridiculous. 3 of them. Hondo is one of them. Her voice drives me effing crazy in that film. I can't. But Hondo, when I think John Wayne being John Wayne, I think Hondo. It's rough and tumble. He's not clean. But he's like sticking up for the woman, and he's trying to sit, and I remember that every time I think of a 3D film and 3D is going big, I always think, well, Hondo was filmed 3D, because it was. When you watch it now, of course you don't watch it in 3D, but they'll like punch right to the camera on a few things. But yeah, every time it's like, ooh, 3D, now in 3D. I'm like, dude, John Wayne made 3D movies. Calm your shit.
Oh yeah, John Wayne in 3D. I mean, how awesome is that?
But it became completely different. Like, their 3D was basically, we had to punch right to camera and it would look like that's coming at you. Now 3D is like really, everything has, like you can clearly, this is ahead of this, like this tree is ahead of that tree. It's not just something being thrown at the camera to make it look like it's coming at you.
Right.
Like, the whole thing is 3D. But I still can't watch 3D because it gives me headaches. I always feel like an old woman because I was like, ooh, 3D, let's go. I'm like, dude, not to be an old woman, but it's just gonna give me a headache because it's like blurry to me. But
yeah,
sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah, no, I understand that. When I went to see Avatar, it was probably the first 3D movie I'd seen in I don't know how long. It was good, but holy shit, after I took the glasses off after 2.5 friggin' hours, I had such a headache from it.
Yeah, I saw, it was that happened to me. My first one, because I hadn't seen a 3D really, and I was like, ooh, let me try this in 3D. It was Alice in Wonderland with Johnny Depp. That was the one I saw, and then I saw that, and I was like, I'm never doing 3D again. This sucks. But I think The Last Hobbit was 3D, and that wasn't too bad. I guess, I don't know if technology has gotten better, or I just was more prepared for it. Yeah, Alice in Wonderland was rough.
So, Johnny Depp, overrated, underrated?
Perfectly rated.
That's actually a bit from another show that I co-host. We end it with an overrated, underrated segment. And you said Johnny Depp, and I thought, oh, that would be perfect for that show.
Yeah. Oh, God,
and you pulled what we call the Dio card. Dio is one of the co-hosts on the Supernuts show with me. And whenever he says something is rated just perfect, we call it the Dio card because he pulls it a lot.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of a cop out, I guess. But no, I'm perfectly rated. He is uber ass talented and he tries uber ass things. Uber ass. I don't know why that's coming out.
well, that's going to be the title for the show then. Goober ass. Uber
Uber
ass.
I started something. Just for 2 seconds, I started something. No, I think everything he's gotten praise for, he's deserved, and what he has, But I don't think he needs any more. That's why I say it's perfectly rated. Like if we keep talking about him and what he does, I'm like, I feel like that's an old card we're already playing.
Yeah.
He's gotten praise. We don't need to I feel like what he's gotten, he's deserved. But if he does another character and he gets praised for that, I'm going to be like, well, we knew he could do that already. If you're so talented, well, we already know you can be that talented. So I guess that's the downside to being really talented.
Yeah,
We're expecting,
I think we have an oversaturation level with him.
When he's a character in an ensemble, I like it. Like Mordecai, I don't know if I'm going to like it because it's going to be all him in all that character. And I haven't seen Into the Woods, but I haven't seen it. But he is the wolf there, and I'm really excited to see it. And I keep on trying to get people to see with me. I think I'm just gonna suck it up and see it myself, which I do see movies by myself all the time, so I don't know what's the thing. But it's a musical. You should be singing and dancing with someone. Anyways, but like that part, I'm so excited to see him play the wolf in this ensemble. Even Pirates of the Caribbean, yeah, he's the lead, but you can also say it's ensemble a little bit. You also have Jeffrey Rush playing a pretty big character, and not just like amount of scenes he's in, but the character type. That's a character actor. He's playing a really not your average Joe, I guess. So it kind of balances out. So I like him in those things, and I like when he goes big, when he has other, and even in Charlie the Chocolate Factory, which I'm sorry, like I just loved, and I guess that I supposedly was supposed to be closer to the book or something. But I mean, I just love the original because you always, I think, like the one you saw first or the one you grew up with. But I even liked it because everything about that movie was a little him. Like even the kids were a little, I don't want to say off because I thought they were cool. It was cool. They did it in a different way. So it all kind of fit together. Sometimes you're like, I get it. You play weird characters. You can't just play a straight. So I don't know. But like when he does play the bigger, broader characters, but it's with some other, when it's not the main person, I like it. I guess that was a really long rambling about that.
That's all right. And he was great in Into the Woods, which is a fantastic movie, and you have to see it.
Right?
That's another one that I saw on Broadway. I didn't see it with Bernadette Peters as the witch, unfortunately, because I wanted to. Felicia Rashad had taken over the role.
I think I got to see Bernadette Peters in Annie Get Your Gun, I think. Is that, or at that point it was Reba McEntire? I don't remember. I love Bernadette Peters. I was a really long time ago. I was like 13 and my grandmother took me. But I want to see Into the Woods. I saw the play, not on Broadway. It was at a regional theater. And I am a huge sucker for happy endings. Like it could be the best. Everyone would be like, "Oh, the acting, oh, this, that, the other," and I will leave like pissed off because you just made me emotionally invest in these characters for 2.5 hours, and they did not end up together. What? Even if it like realistically or story-wise made more sense for them not to, or for someone to die, I will still be pissed because I just like happy endings. And so, I mean, the first half of the play, I was like, this is awesome because I love fairy tales. No, I guess the happy or fairy tales, not the actual original fairy tales. Actually, I also like those too because they're, dark and entertaining, but I still want them to end happy. Like, I like dark things, but I want it to end happy. And then the second act came, and I'm so excited to see where this goes, and then it all changes. And I remember thinking, what the fuck? Where was the warning? Yeah, but I still want to see the movie, just because I love musicals like a mofo. I just saw Newsies. Newsies came to Atlanta, and I just saw that, and we were like nosebleeds, because that's, what you do when you're a waitress / actress. You're lucky that you got tickets. And I went with my sisters because we grew up with that film. And we found out like when I was 17, we were talking about it because we'd always watch it. And that it turns out it was all three of ours first Hollywood crush was Christian Bale because of that movie. So I see it, and I've been waiting for this to come to tour for 5 years because when I heard it was coming to Broadway, I was like, oh my god, if it does well, it goes on tour. And then it was like waiting every year to see when it was coming on tour. and it finally was coming on tour, and oh my god, it was coming to Atlanta. I called up my family. I was like, it's coming now, this time. We're all gonna go see it together. I don't give a fuck what you're doing. We're all gonna see it. And it turns out it was on my sister's birthday. So we all came. I was so freaking stoked. And we were up there, and of course I tried to wait to get the soundtrack till after I saw it, and turned out I waited like a day before I got that soundtrack on my iPod and memorized everything 2 hours later. I'm obsessed with musicals, and I love this one. So I'm so happy and in heaven. And at the end, all my sisters did were like, well, it was no Christian Bale. I was like, you are not ruining this bubble of mine. That was amazing. My mom who saw, apparently she saw Howard Keel and, God, what's her name? Who were in Seven Brides for Seven Brothers.
Oh, I know who you mean.
Howard Keel and, she was in like Judy Gets a Date or something. She always did all those little cute ones, and they would just have her sing.
It's
Royal
right
Wedding.
out of my head.
Anyways, that woman. They came, and my mom got to see them do Seven Brides, Seven Brothers, and apparently on Seven Brides, Seven Brothers, they made this huge warning, like, please do not take pictures or make noises because this is a really acrobatic show. And, like, in the movie where the people are on that, they do all this, like, flips and stuff, but they're also on this wood thing, and one of them is cranking the wood, and it's going around, and they're running on the wood. And they're doing all these acrobatic stuff. Apparently they did all of that, but like on stage with no cuts.
Wow.
No. And so after, of course, Newsies happened, where they have all these, they did flips and a lot of amazing toe touches every 5 seconds. It was amazing.
It was Jane Powell.
Jane Powell, yes. Did that just come to you, or did you look it up?
No, that was courtesy of IMDb.
Oh, yeah. I love IMDb. That's my homepage, actually. So my sisters are going like, well, he was no Christian Bale. And my mom was just like, well, it was no Seven Brides and Seven Brothers. And then went on. I was like, oh my god, it was amazing. Yeah. And I get what they're saying, but we were also like really far away. And I was like, how can you tell he's no Christian Bale? Like, we cannot see facial, like we don't see a face. We don't even see like an eyeball, like anything. Like, you just see he has brown hair and he's a white. That's it. And which is really good because you could tell like all the bottom people, they would like laugh at stuff. And I'd be like, I wonder what they did. Because they would just, give looks to the audience or do something. And I'd be like, I wonder what they did. Yeah, that's okay. It was great, and I will see it a million more times in my life.
Before we wrap it up, what advice would you give to somebody who was wanting to be an actor and actress?
Get in an acting class. Even if people have told you, don't get an acting class, you're great. Networking-wise, and just you get yourself in a community of people who have the same passion as you do. Because most people are not going to understand. They're getting real jobs, what they call real jobs. And when you tell them you want to be an actress, they'll either be like, oh, that's cute, and, good luck with that, or, but they're not as supportive maybe. So if you get yourself in an acting class, you find a community of people who are going through the same thing you are and have the same goals as you do. And it's a support system, and it's networking. They can inform you about the casting directors and the best agents, and I just think that's the smartest thing to do. That's what I would recommend to anybody. Find a good acting class. That's
sound advice. And I really appreciate having you on, Anna. This has been a lot of fun.
Oh, I hope you're not just saying that.
No. I'm not just saying that. Obviously you don't know me, but if you did, you would know that I don't say things like that lightly.
Oh, good.
So, yeah, this was a lot of... It certainly has been one of the funniest interviews I've done, and so that always goes a long, long way.
Yeah, I love good. I'm glad, because I just had you on for an hour and a half, so hopefully it was somewhat entertaining. Or else you've been like falling asleep and like looking at whoever's in the room with you, going, "Oh my God, this woman will not shut up."
No, it's just me and my cat at the moment, and she's sleeping, so but she doesn't give a shit about anything.
Gotcha.
So
you've been all alone in this agony. Yeah.
So you can catch Anna in Infliction. And again, want to thank you for coming on. And we'll have links on the show page where you can find out more about Anna and her work. And if you enjoy the Imaginarium, check out our other shows on the Supernauts Network at thesupernauts.com. And until next time, may all your journeys be filled with pure imagination.